This is grain, which any fool can eat, but for which the Lord intended a more divine means of consumption. Let us give praise to our Maker and glory to his bounty by learning about beer.
So now that the fermentation has slowed and really come to a stop pretty quickly, I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to the secondary fermentation, or the carboy. So for transfer day, you're going to need your siphon, your stopper for your carboy, and you're going to need the airlock. So I've already cleaned everything, and then it's soaking in the sanitizer right now. Use a sponge to get it up over the parts that are not submerged, like the top of the siphon and everything. So the sanitizer's been run through everything at this point. Now for opening your beer brewing bucket, took the stopper off there, or the airlock off. As you saw, it was in the sanitizing bucket right there. And if this is your first time opening this bucket, it probably will take both hands. Alright, so this is what it looks like after, let's see, 4 full days of fermentation. And a lot of people might be tempted to do a gravity reading at this point, but because I'm just kind of doing this for fun, and I don't fully understand how it works, I am not going to be doing a gravity reading. So your bucket is open, your siphon is sanitized. Submerge the siphon into the beer, and I've got the carboy at a lower level to help with the siphoning process. Gravity will do some of the work there, and just kind of clipped it on the end. I don't know if this is what most people do, but this is what I've done the past couple of times, and it worked out pretty well. So I'm going to start working the pump there and show you once it gets going. Trying to do it with one hand here. It's a little tricky. Alright. Okay, it's a little trickle right now, but it could be doing better. Okay, once it really gets going, I just kind of leave it. It can be a little tricky sometimes to hit the sweet spot. Maybe it's pinching too much down at the bottom. Remember, you gotta do 5 gallons of this, so it's gotta get it right at the sweet spot. Alright, what's going on here? Once you get it at the sweet spot, I would just hold it, because we're getting some good flow here. We got 5 gallons of this to go through, so I don't want to mess it up, you know what I'm saying? The instructions say to carefully siphon it, and I'm not really sure what that means. I'm not haphazardly siphoning it, but once I got the siphon going to where it started pouring in like that, I just let it go. Now if you watch closely, you can still see some of the carbonation happening, which is perfect, because that means that it hasn't completely finished. So we're putting it in the secondary fermentation, or carboy, at just the right time, I think. Part of the reason that you want to do the siphon is you can see at the bottom it's kind of cloudy and thick. Look at that when I move the liquid back a little bit. you got this layer of weird stuff going on. I am going to lean it back and siphon the liquid a little more, but you don't want all that stuff that's in the bottom to make it into the carboy. See, it's almost full there, and I could stop it up, and I will, but I'm just going to get a little bit more of the beer in there first. Okay, now that you have all of the beer siphoned from your brew bucket to the carboy, you take your sanitized stopper, and what I did was I sanitized the top of this one more time just to be safe. Go ahead and press that down on there to get a good seal, and notice there's a little hole in the top there, and that's where the airlock is going to go. So I took the airlock from the sanitizing bucket with the fluid, filled it up halfway just like before with the brew bucket, and squeezed it into the top of that stopper there. So really there shouldn't be a whole lot of gas escaping at this point, but this just makes sure if there is any gas escaping that it is not going to make this thing burst, and that no unwanted bacteria can make it inside. What you're left with here, I believe, is called trub, and that's just kind of the unwanted stuff that doesn't make it into your beer. So clean up your stuff and do it responsibly, whatever that means. And I'm going to give that beer a week in the carboy before doing the bottling process. So I got about a half an hour's worth of cleaning up to do with all the equipment and everything, and then I'm off to bed.